Everyone. So I have got a call about a little barn find in someone's garage near me today. So I'm going to go and check that out and see what they've got hiding in their garage. Let's go have a look. Welcome back to Savage 911. Everything, you all right?
No, this should be fine.
Yeah.
In the attic, he had the original seats for the Conda Green 911 that you saw in the driveway, which is a Californian car built in December 1969. They're Recaro seats, often called comfort seats, which were the standard option for 1969 to 1971 Porsche 911s. From 1972, they changed the hinges to black, but I've always been a sucker for chrome. These ones are especially cool because they have the original 1968 dated seatbelts and Recaro knobs. The other more expensive Recaro seat option were the sport seats, which are very expensive and have larger side bolsters. This pair are very dirty from being in the attic, which I'll clean up. The covers are, however, ripped and worn in many places, so they'll need a reupholster. The bases also have some surface rust, which is fairly easy to clean up. I have in fact already sold these particular seats to someone else, but that's only because I have another identical pair of these seats in better condition that I'll show you how to restore and rebuild now. The first step is to clean up all the components, and the key component is this side hinge, in particular the one with the recline lever shown here. So you can see there's a fair bit of gunk hair, old grease, a little bit of rust, and this all needs to be cleaned up with some degreaser and with rust converter. So the key components to clean are the mechanical teeth. So you can see a cog down in the bottom there, which meshes with the reclining fixed teeth around the circular perimeter of the hinge. And then you've got these teeth, which are the locking mechanism that holds the recline in place. You can see by the blue lithium grease that I've lubricated all of that and put some white lithium on the spring, which is a pretty strong spring there. Covering plate, covering a kind of dust boot, and then the all-important Recaro knob goes on there. And then kind of similar, but obviously without the locking mechanism on the other side. These two splines then get interlocked with this kind of spline shaft, which runs across the back of the seat. So I'll be screwing these hinges to the side of the seat back with the spline, and that kind of is a self-contained unit. And then and these are the long screws that I'll be doing using to screw the back to the hinges. Note that these are a little bit longer than the ones for the base, even though they kind of look the same. So the base screws have a little lock washer and then a decorative kind of chrome ring, which will go through the base of the hinge to here. And then you can see there's two nylon washers on the inside of that. And then these supports I've kind of already put on. There's a right and a left with the R and the L. They screw into the side here, and then the seat rails actually sit on top of it. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The Allen keys I'll put in, the Allen key bolts I'll put in, and you can see the 5 there, and then 5 for the other side. You'll note that there are 2 holes here. These are for the seatbelt brackets, which I'm not going to put back on, but I do have a seatbelt over here to demonstrate how they would actually go on. So you can see the 2 holes here. There's another bolt that goes through a threaded piece there with a washer, and these are the original 1968 seatbelts. So that normally would bolt onto there underneath the rails, and likewise on the other side. These are kind of interesting belts. You can see they've got the little release mechanism here. These ones still work. Kind of cool. They say 1968 on them, so there's a little date
marking, which is, all important to your collector. And so these I'm not going to put on because they're not retractable, and so they're not as safe as a retractable reel. One of those few concessions that you'll make, but I think safety is one of those areas where you don't muck around. So I will put these in this box to store away with the original brackets. I considered putting the brackets on and undoing that bolt, but then you've kind of got black brackets here, and I saw that it was kind of scratching up some of the leather, and it looks a bit unsightly. It's not really necessary, so I didn't do that. I did refinish this bottom base. There was a little bit of surface rust on it, but it cleaned up with a bit of wet and dry and some rust remover, and then 2 coats of paint. So that's cleaned up pretty well. All my screw holes are pretty good. I didn't have to rethread anything. And these go on okay. Obviously lubricated these kind of mechanisms and stuff as well, which have to spring back. And then there's going to be another Recaro knob there. And then finally, of course, headrest goes in the top of the seat back. So that's all of your components to build a seat. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to, I've done leather cleaner on these, but I have some Auto Glim leather care balm, which smells amazing and does a really nice job. So shake that up. Oh, and I forgot to mention I have a cup of tea here because something will no doubt go wrong in this process, and I'll need all the patience I can get. So cloth and the balm, and you'll see this will put a real nice shine onto the leather. A little bit on. I'm a bit generous with this stuff, kind of spread it around a bit, and then kind of work it into the leather like this. If you have a look here, I redid some of these nails along the bottom. They were getting a little bit rusty, and you can see, there's a little bit of scratching and a few specks and stuff on the bottom of the leather here. This you won't see because it'll be hard up against the base. You can see kind of matching scratches on this side, but it'd be good to condition in here now just to protect it. So once it's back together, we're all good. Okay, so that's the kind of cleaning step of it. As I said, I've already lubricated the hinges and rails, so now it's on to assembly. So a quick sip of tea. So with these, I'll leave the knob off to start with, and then I will put, so I don't want to crack it, and then I'll put these kind of dust covers back on. So there's a left and a right. You can see this one's cracked. It's lost its little lug down there, but it should still go on okay. They're a little bit tricky with this wire. It's got to go kind of around them. And then there's a bit of an art form to getting the little lug in, squashing it down like that, and then pushing. There should be a lug there, but that's that. And then this little dust cover, which I've also cleaned up, kind of goes on. You're going to make sure this is really lubricated in here, because you can see, if you can see that, see how that goes up and back when you squeeze the lever. So this is a little dust cover that protects that very nicely. So someone sitting behind doesn't stick their little fingers in there and get pinched. I'm going to lock this and then put the spline in, and then I can free move this side to get it to interlink. You've got to get, you've got to try and get the splines matched across the back of the seat, because what happens if you have, let's say you put this side on, and then, oh look, there's the lady beetle. It's still going on. If you put the spline in and then there's some tension on this because you haven't synchronized the splines, then it's very hard to release this lever because it's got tension on it. So you want them to be interlinked, which is harder than it sounds, actually. Okay, so I'll go ahead and put these on the side. Put them on the sides now. Like I said, the locking hinge goes on this side like this. Move that back a little bit. So again, there's some really nice, you can see the original number printed on this. That's kind of cool. You can see roughly where these have gone before. And we get the screw into the hole. Okay. So now, spline, and this, this just locks into here. There's obviously teeth on it, and you've got to kind of, it's actually quite easy to drop on. You don't want to force it. It just has to go on perfectly straight, which is harder than it sounds because these seats are kind of angled, and it makes it a little bit tricky. So I'll put it on the other side first. There, got it. And then I'll put it on this side, but you've got to kind of get these lined up first. Like I said, you want no tension, and you want that other side to be fully unlocked so that when you put these on, they're pretty much aligned. So that looks pretty good to me. There. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. And these seats are about 22.5 kilograms, so hence why I've got them up on a bench. I did the other one on the floor, and it nearly killed my back, so I've learned from that mistake. So these have, and this is another reason why I put these little supports on first, because you can at least get these on to align them. And then there's a little bit of muscle required to kind of coerce these seats over the hinge bracket here, say like that. So you can see how I've just hooked this over the bolt and the nylon washers, and it's sitting on these supports, which made it a lot easier to get it on. So that top latch opens that hook down there, which unhooks from this little rubber support. It's flopping around a bit at the moment. This is kind of like your, normally when you want someone to get in the back seat, you flick that up, you tilt this thing forward, and then you drop it back, and then you hook it back under. It's a little bit of a rough mechanism, not too bad. It's a bit floppy at the moment because I've only got one bolt in that. These are just loosely on at the moment. There's a bolt that goes in the side, as you can see. And then, like I said, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These bolts are a little bit annoying. You've got to get them out of the way of the rails. And you'll see the rails are not perfectly uniform. So there's 2 holes on this end, 4 on this end, and then an offset middle one. There's a riveted kind of stopper there to stop the rail sliding too far off the ends. So you can't actually, I think you'd have to drill that rivet out to get these apart and really refinish them, but they're a little bit corroded, but they appear to be some type of aluminium alloy, so I'm not too fussed about that. This is not a concourse level restoration. This is a get things working, make sure I've got all the right parts, and then let's drive kind of restoration. So that's it. So I'll do the other side the same, put the headrest on, and we're finished. So there we go, all reassembled and ready to go back into the car. I hope you found this video easy to follow. Please leave any comments and let me know if you have any further questions. Otherwise, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time on Savage 911. Bye.